everybody. I wanted to give you guys some notes today about integrated pest management so you're prepared for your quiz tomorrow. You should have this definition from your vocabulary already, but if it helps, go ahead and pause the video and write it down. At this point, you're going to want to pause the video and write down this list because this is about half of the information you're going to need for your quiz. The rest of the stuff that I'm going to go through today in this segment is going to be examples of these alternatives to control pests. So integrated pest management is basically, if you think about what it sounds like, the term integrated means that we're going to try to incorporate as many different methods as possible to control pests so that you can avoid as much as possible the use of artificial or the use of chemical pesticides. So the bottom line is it involves tricking the bugs or tricking the weeds into going somewhere else. And you can do that by rotating your crops. And so maybe one year you plant something that attracts, a whole bunch of boll weevils, and then they're ready for your crop the next year, but the next year you plant something different. So they're totally confounded. They leave your land alone. By the time you're ready to plant your initial crop again, the population has decreased. You might bring around pest enemies, and a real common example of this is if you have mice in your barn, well, then you get a cat. And you don't have to put mouse poison all over the place. Cat takes care of things for you. There are a couple of other examples that we'll be going through here. Write down this term, cultural methods. This is all about methods of controlling pests that you can learn from other people. It's usually physical things. So like rotating crops, like I was mentioning before, people might have figured out before, okay, if you alternate the kind of crop that you grow, then you'll confound or you'll confuse the bugs that would normally show up and populate the area. It might involve selecting varieties that are better for your area. You can learn that from somebody that came before you. Maybe you can be really, really careful about the stock that you plant in the first place and make sure that it's free of pests, or you can do other physical take other physical precautions like actually going around with a vacuum, that's what this thing is, and vacuuming up the harmful bugs. This you don't necessarily need to write down. It's just, some examples of what a traditional eco-farmer would be. So that's a person who considers not just their food crop or their money crop, but they consider their soil, their water source, the air around them. They consider the bugs that pollinate, and they consider the bugs that will eat up their crop. And so they make every effort to try and foster the whole system rather than just capitalize on the money crop. Biological methods refers to using another living organism to help you control pests. So an example of this might be if you have this larval caterpillar that's eating up all your food crop, well, maybe you'll bring around this wasp, and what the wasp will do is it'll lay its eggs inside the caterpillar. Essentially, like the movie Alien, the caterpillar will explode with baby wasp larvae, but it won't be able to eat up your crop anymore. That baby wasp larva will go and attack other caterpillars. Bam, your problem is taken care of. You can actually go to gardening stores here in San Antonio and pick up some ladybugs. You put them out in your garden and they look really cute, but they're lethal pest killers. And they will take care of a bunch of the pest species for you. Maybe you don't want to buy ladybugs. Maybe instead, rather than spraying pesticide, you spray disease. If you're going to do this, then you're very careful to spray bacteria and viruses that will affect the pest organism. These pathogenic organisms are usually very specific to the host that they attack. So something that attacks, a horse or a pig, for example, won't be as likely to attack humans. It won't be as likely to cause disease. The closer species are to each other, the easier it is for a bacteria or virus to transfer from one species to the other. But since people are pretty generally far away, at least taxonomically, to arthropods, to bugs, a pathogen that will attack a bug or that will kill a bug is pretty safe for people. So you pick some organisms, some bacteria, some viruses that will attack the pest that you want to get rid of. You can spray those all over the place, and if you choose the right ones, then they won't harm the people that eat the food crop or that use the money crop. You might use natural repellents and things that are high in those sulfur compounds, like garlic, like onions, maybe things that are high in pyrethrins, like chrysanthemums, or like marigolds will help control pests, and there are other varieties of plants that will help control weeds. Microbials goes back to this whole idea. So you pick some species that will naturally repel bugs, and sometimes they can even repel fungus. You might adjust the timing of your planting or of the application of any of these methods so that it's specific to the pest that you're trying to reduce, whose population you're trying to reduce. Maybe you choose a type of crop that's a little bit more hardy. So maybe you choose something that's bred for your area. You can choose something that's genetically engineered for your area, and we'll get to that in a second. Here's another physical method. So if you want to protect your crop or your garden, probably it's a little bit more practical in a small area. But if you want to protect it from weeds, then you put down a layer of plastic, and if a plant can't get to sunlight, then it can't grow. So you allow your plants to poke through the plastic, and the rest won't make it. Pheromones are a really, really funny way, I think, to get the bugs away from your crop, because they will convince the male bugs that there are really, really hot, sexy female bugs in the field next door, but not in your area. So what happens is you put the pheromones away from your land. It totally convinces the female bugs to go toward the pheromones. They think there's hot, sexy female bugs in there, but no, there aren't. They get trapped in there. They get either taken away or killed. I don't know. It's up to you. Genetic methods refers to genetically engineering a plant to be a lot more resistant to bugs. So here's the contrast between a genetically engineered one and a plant that's not made to resist bugs. They can be made to resist fungus, insects, diseases. If you breed them to resist those things, it can take decades, but if you genetically engineer them, you get the results much, much sooner. You can sterilize male bugs so that when they go and mate with the female bugs and produce larvae, all of the larvae are either they don't get produced at all, or they're completely sterile. So within one life cycle, you can completely decimate the population almost. All right, here's some things that you can do to reduce your own exposure to pesticides. Here's one of the easiest things to do. Since pesticides will accumulate in fatty tissues, you can just trim the fat from meat. Or you can buy organic, make sure you wash and scrub all foods, eat less meat or eat no meat because of that whole bioaccumulation issue. Here are some common risks and hazards associated with using pesticides, using toxic substances on food products. And here are some biological hazards. And some of these things are things that we've already mentioned in previous lessons, but they're here for your reference because they might appear on a quiz. All right, that's it for today. Thank you for sticking around through this set of notes. Hope to see you guys do well on your quiz tomorrow and a little bit better in class, okay? Thanks again.